You're listening to the Wealth Mindset Show, where Hixon Zuercher Capital Management's team of finance professionals, portfolio managers, and a life coach come together to tackle complex topics in finance and retirement planning so you don't have to. From investment strategies and wealth management to tax planning, retirement income, and aligning your money with your values and purpose, the Wealth Mindset Show offers the tools to thrive.
All right. Hey. Welcome to the Wealth Mindset Show, where our Hixon Zuercher team will have conversations on managing wealth, navigating retirement, and making smart decisions for a secure, meaningful future. This is not Austin Wilson. I am Tony.
You're not? Oh, okay.
I know, I'm not that good looking. I'm Tony Hixon, CEO of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management, co-founder alongside Scott with the Refocus Coaching Academy, and the author of Retirement Stepping Stones.
And I'm Scott Miller, certified professional retirement coach here at Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. We actually have a bonus episode for you today called Halftime Huddle. And this is actually where Tony and I, we get to address like common issues that retirees have in retirement. We're going to look at a lot of different challenges and things in halftime huddles.
Mm-hmm. Common non-financial issues.
Common non-financial.
Right.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe some of our listeners are wondering, what is a halftime huddle? Like, why that name and all of that? So it's similar to a football game, right? Okay. There is a first half and there is a second half, and in between those halves is halftime.
Right.
They go into the locker room and they look at what has happened in the first half. And then they start strategizing and setting goals and making some changes in their lives to live a better second half. Well, that's what halftime huddles is really all about. It's really taking a look at some of the challenges of first half, of some of the things that have kind of happened, but then really kind of strategizing and setting some goals to win the game, to really come out ahead and to live a purposeful and meaningful second half of life.
Yeah,
right,
it's like the first half is typically your career.
Yeah.
Right? Bottom line is your career.
Yep.
You've navigated it well.
Raising family, all that, yes.
Yeah,
right.
Climbing the corporate ladder, getting all the good titles.
Right.
And then to your point, halftime is that concept where no one cares about the score, right?
Yeah.
Remember Ohio State-Michigan game last year?
Right.
Do you remember the score at halftime?
I don't, no.
No one cares about the score at halftime,
No.
but taking that time out, that break between your career and your second half is super important as you navigate your second half, so you can come out and, like you said, Scott, to really win the game. So
that's exactly right. Well, maybe our listeners are kind of wondering, what's the why behind halftime huddles? You know, why are we doing this? Why are we addressing some of these challenges and talking about some of these things? So, Tony, can you just take us back, I think, to really the story that's really behind the why of why we're doing this, why we address these non-financial issues. I think it was about, 10 or 11 years ago that the story really starts. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd love to. And I know that there's quite a few of our listeners that do know the story. So
Yes.
For those of you who are joining us maybe for the first time and wonder why, as a financial firm, a wealth management firm, why do they care about the non-financial side? And really it's born out of a personal tragedy that occurred in my life and my family's life around 14 years ago in 2011.
Okay. All right.
So my mom was graduated as a registered nurse in 1971, mm-hmm. and she got a job at a local hospital where she worked long hours and swing shifts, and soon enough they started a family.
Right.
My sister and I, and those long hours just didn't make sense when it came to raising young kids.
Sure.
So she sought different employment and was able to find a job at a local home health agency,
okay.
Offering more steady hours and a good income, and allowed her to be home in the evenings when we were there after school. So that was mid-'80s, early '80s. And that's when hospice really became a thing.
Okay.
So by now a lot of people know what hospice is, but
right.
Just as a quick reminder, it's when the healthcare system basically says there's not much else we can do.
Right.
So they send you back home so that you can be surrounded by your loved ones and familiar surroundings. And my mom was kind of a pioneer in this industry, the
Sure.
hospice industry. And she soon found herself as an executive director at a local hospice agency. And she fell in love with the career, just being able to care for those as they transition from this life to the next. And it was there that she found her greatest purpose, her significance, her meaning, but it was also
helping others.
Helping
and just,
others.
Yeah.
But it was also this career that led to the biggest burnout I'd ever seen. And really that burnout started mid-2000s when electronic medical records became a thing.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and if you know anything about my mom, her and technology did not get along very well. So she found herself behind a desk trying to enter notes into a computer rather than bedside caring for the patient. And she started to get it in her mind that she wanted to exit the rat race and retire and live a quiet life on the farm that my mom and dad owned. My dad still owns to this day.
And I think a lot of our retirees would probably agree with that, right? Or maybe as they're entering into retirement, they're looking forward to that more laid back, that peaceful life. So.
Yeah. The American ideal of retirement is real. It's
right.
It seems to be really exciting.
Yes.
But what we don't often hit on is what are you going to fill your time with?
Right.
And so what my mom found is within a short amount of time after retiring, she was bored. And she was wandering, and she knew exactly what she had retired from.
Right.
But she had no idea what she was retiring to. She could answer during her career days who she was. I'm a hospice nurse. I'm an executive director at the hospice agency.
Yes.
Her identity was in her career. And when that title was stripped from her, or she retired from that title, and she was asking herself, who am I apart from that, she was unable to answer that question. So she didn't know enough to do the hard work of taking that halftime to plan and prepare for her second half.
To get ready, right.
So before retiring, I should say that she planned well financially. She met with her primary financial advisor, who wasn't me. We separated family and business, which is good.
That's probably a good idea.
It's a good idea, yeah. So her primary financial advisor ran the numbers and pulled out her credentialing, her software, and her experience, and gave my mom the green light. They had enough money to retire. And I was 8 years into my career at the time, and my mom wanted to give me the honor and to allow me to give a second opinion. So I pulled out my credentialing, my software, and my experience, and I too came up with the same result. And I gave my mom the green light to retire, and so she did. And within about 6 months after that, she fell into, after wandering and being bored and not knowing exactly who she was or what was next, she fell into a deep depression, and anxiety grasped her mind and her heart. And on the morning of March 22nd, 2011, my mom, Pam Hixon, she chose to take her life. The consequences of that decision were staggering. My dad and her, they were high school sweethearts. They had a big future planned of traveling or whatever it might have been. But she wasn't able to disconnect from who she was to who she was going to become. My sister, they had a mother-daughter relationship that was very strong. She was devastated. My kids, my mom's grandkids, would miss out on the blessing that my mom would be to them as they grew up. My wife, Carrie, she was 7 months pregnant with what would have been my mom's first grandson. And she missed out on the blessing that Everett would be to her in his life. So, and me, I was devastated. I was one of the 2 financial advisors that gave her the green light to retire, the very thing that led to her death. And to say that the amount of guilt and shame that I felt, it was staggering. It was debilitating. And yet, over time, and by God's grace, I was able to turn that tragedy into triumph, and those stumbling blocks into stepping stones. And so why we're here today is in 2021, 10 years after the celebration of her life, I released a book, Retirement Stepping Stones, that really deals with the non-financial side of retiring, to not just ensure that you have enough money to sleep at night, but to ensure you have enough purpose to get up in the morning. And so, Scott, you and I have known each other for years, maybe
a long time.
Maybe take us back a long time. Take us back. How did our connection start? And then we can lead into how you and I connected over this book.
Well, as you're telling that story, I'm thinking back to when our relationship started, probably 20 plus years ago. And so I walked through that period of time when all of that happened with your mom. I was at the funeral of your mom's, and so you and I were good friends. Our relationship started really probably back in the late 1990s, early 2000s, even before you and Carrie were married, and you were part of a college ministry that my wife and I were doing. And so that's really kind of where it started, and then in a professional relationship too as a client, in probably 2003 or 2002 or so. Right. But really our personal friendship continued on because we met every month just in a one-on-one relationship through all that period of time. And maybe what the listeners don't know, and you and I have talked a little bit about this, but even from that point of 2011, really I was going through a journey of my own, where I was transitioning out of dentistry.
Have you ever thought about how your financial choices reflect what truly matters to you? At Hixon Zuercher Capital Management, we believe that integrating your values and dreams with your financial future is key to achieving peace of mind and confidence. When you engage in deep conversations with us, you'll start to see how your money can support the things that matter most in your life. Our holistic approach means that your financial plan is more than just numbers. It's a personalized blueprint that evolves with you. You'll have a dedicated team of professionals tailored to your unique needs, all focused on crafting an investment portfolio designed to help you achieve your specific goals. Plus, our on-staff retirement life coach offers guidance to empower you toward a fulfilling retirement that goes beyond just financial security. Ready to transform your relationship with money? Join us at hzcapital.com and let's embark on this journey together. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, tell a little about like what was your career background and all that. You were a dentist for
so I started here in Findlay in 1989 as a dentist, over right just a block or so away from here. So I was a dentist for 32 years, but really in about 2010 or 2011, God was starting to stir in me this. I don't think dentistry is gonna be the finale for you. The average age of retirement for a dentist is 68. Okay. And so I retired actually at 57 in 2021. But really, so through all that period of time, all these things that were happening with your mom and then just the tragedy of it all and the beginning stages then of you starting to think about writing a book and turning this tragedy into a triumph, I'm going through this major transition myself of really selling my practice in 2016, working part-time in dentistry and trying to experiment with some other things in my life.
Yeah, so that experimentation phase was almost like your halftime.
It was, right? Yeah.
So what happened during that stage to make you decide to join forces with us in 2021?
Yeah, that was about a 5-year period of time. So really from about 2016 to 2021, it was about a 5-year period there. But right before that, in COVID year, in 2020, you and I were meeting to have lunch. And just a week or so ago before that, the dental practice that I was working in and the person that I had sold it to got sold to a corporation. And so I was lamenting to you, Tony, over lunch, I can't do this. Yeah. I can't work for a corporation.
Yeah, you're self-employed. You've been that way for 30 plus years.
I own my own business.
Now you're working for somebody.
Yeah,
that's hard.
Yes. So you then told me, like, hey, I'm releasing this book in a year. And I think the idea of really having somebody come in and be a life coach, be the hands and feet of the book. Not only did you want to release a book to the public here and tell the story about your mom and help others really find purpose and meaning in second half of life, but you're like, can we have somebody that kind of actually help apply this to their lives?
Correct, yeah. I couldn't help but think in my own life, when I read a book, I put it back on the bookshelf. Yeah. And maybe 6 months to a year later, you ask me what it was about, it'd be kind of hard for me to remember.
Yes.
So I just really wanted to prevent that from happening with my story and to honor my mom's legacy in a bigger way. Yeah. And so, we joined forces at the release date of the book in September 2021. And we announced that Scott was going to become a life coach with our firm. And that was, at this point, 4 years ago, which time flies.
Yes.
So you have branded now this non-financial side of our firm, Refocus Coaching.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you do with that department at our firm.
Yeah, so in January of 2022, 6 months or so after I started here, we started Refocus Coaching. And maybe a lot of our listeners don't know what a life coach is. So let me just explain a little bit about what that is.
Right.
I feel like I've been doing this for 30-some years in dentistry. I was just coaching people in good oral hygiene, coaching them how to take care of their teeth, how to brush their teeth, So you just kind of, a coach is really somebody that's very future focused. It's looking at the present and helping people look into the future, setting goals, asking a lot of questions. It's like what a football coach does.
Sure.
You're kind of coming alongside of people. You're helping develop that person. You want to point them towards, in a football coach's case, it's about winning the game.
Sure.
Here, it's about living a better life. It's
Leaving
pointing
a
them
legacy.
towards a better, so many different things like that. And so that's what I do as a life coach. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a mind reader.
Not a therapist.
I'm not a therapist. Right. It's none of those things. It's really just, it's a lot of encouragement, asking good questions. In a lot of cases, I feel in so much, the answers are already within them. I'm just trying to bring those to the surface and help them to kind of think about the future. A lot of people just get stuck in life. They're not thinking about the future. And so that's what a life coach does. We're just coming alongside people and trying to help them find the best version of themselves, I guess is the way to put it.
And I so appreciate what you do for our clients, and even non-clients have gone through our program. And Scott, you conduct workshops. And
Yes.
that's really how we execute the vision that I had when I released the book. Instead of putting it back on the shelf, we're actually conducting workshops.
Yep.
And tell us a little bit about how those workshops operate and what you learn through that content.
Yeah, we didn't really know, I think, in January of 2022 where this was all going to go. And so it was just really exciting to be part of something new like this. And really, what I tried to do is take the concepts from your book and then just put that into practical exercises and worksheets. And we wanted to, like a workshop says, it is work. So people come to these workshops and they do work. They do exercises. They do practical examples. And everything is really geared around action steps. You talk a lot about this in your book. We didn't want people to just have information coming at them. We wanted them to actually create action step, practical things that they can do, small little things. A lot of times an action step is, like, I need to call this person, or I need to meet with this, or look up some information about this. They're simple little steps that we can do to live a better life. And so in those workshops, we take them through 4 different pillars. And the 4 pillars answer 4 different questions. Who am I? Where am I going? How will I get there? And why is all of this important? And so we look at a lot of different topics within those pillars: relationships, leaving a legacy, what am I going to do in the second half of life, the doing part of it. But the very first part of it, which I feel is probably the most important that a lot of people leave out, is who am I? It's really answering the question of just thinking of my uniqueness, what are my skills, my abilities, my talents, and then that, after really going through that pillar, they can kind of move forward with the doing part of it.
Set a vision for their future.
Set a vision. And then at the end of that, at the end of every workshop, they have a summary plan. They have what we call the retirement summary plan, and it brings all 4 of those pillars together into a plan so that they have a set of action steps to walk out of that workshop with something to do to start living a better life. Cool. And so that's the workshops. I also do some private coaching also. Yeah. This is more of sitting in a conference room like this where we're sitting one-on-one or maybe one-on-two with individuals. We're kind of going through a lot of the same material that we do in the workshop, but some of it's different. It's crafted a little bit differently. It's a little bit more personal. Right. We can go a little bit more in depth with some of the topics and things like that.
And it's more tailored, right?
Yeah, it's more tailored to that person, where
10 or
they're
12
at.
people.
Exactly.
When you're one-on-one or one-on-two, you can tailor it for their specific situation.
Yeah. You think about a football coach like in a halftime, and they're talking to certain things to an offensive lineman that's different than a running back or a quarterback or somebody on the defense. They're looking at different strategies and different things like that. people are at different places when they enter retirement or when they're about to retire. And so private coaching is more geared towards that specific maybe position or wherever they're at. So, yeah.
Well, that makes so much sense. And so it's a little bit like we're helping our clients, and even those who aren't clients of ours, we're helping them take a halftime.
That's right.
We're helping them just understand that this life transition can be hard.
Yeah.
And it really was born out of my personal tragedy that I really feel I've been honored to steward that story going forward.
Amen.
And thank you, Scott, for being a part of that story and for honoring my mom's legacy the way that you do. I can't help but remember some of the testimonials that we have gotten from clients as they've gone through your workshop. The one that I'm reminded of and that really encourages me of the content that we provide in the department that you run. It's nothing that the quote is, it's nothing I expected, but it's everything I needed. It's nothing that I expected, but everything I needed. So that's the story. That's the background of why these halftime huddles, why Refocus Coaching is so important to us, and why we're just honored to continue to honor my mom's legacy and to leave to help our clients live a bigger future. And so with that, any last thoughts before we wrap this episode up?
Well, it is an honor for me to be the hands and feet of your book. I feel like I am really living out my purpose, really, again, coming from a 32-year career in dentistry, and really helping me just personally let go of that career, because that was difficult. That was you mentioned actually before, it was a transition. It was a major life disruptor for me to disrupt, what I had been doing before. That was easy. Sure. And now this is going to be a little bit more difficult, but oh my goodness, I've found so much purpose and meaning in my personal life, just in helping others, kind of, looking to peer into their second half. And so again, it is an honor for me to just come alongside of you and your firm here, be part of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. This team here is really an honor.
It's awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for just being who you are. I always say that you were a dentist wrapped into a life coach, but I don't know how I said it, but basically you're doing what God called you to do, and we appreciate you delivering your skills and just your unique ability on our team. So appreciate you on the team. So audience, we're so glad that you could join us for this bonus episode of Halftime Huddle. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about the why this is so important to us. If you found value in our conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the Wealth Mindset Show on whatever platform you're on so you never miss an episode. Visit us at thewealthmindsetshow.com for more resources. And if you're ready to invest with us, head over to hzcapital.com. We also invite you to follow us on social media to stay connected. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you for joining us at the Wealth Mindset Show, where we tackle the complexities of finance and life planning to help you align your wealth with your values. We hope today's conversation provided value and clarity as you navigate your financial journey. Your hosts work for Hixon Zuercher Capital Management, and all opinions expressed by them or any podcast guest are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. There is no guarantee that statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Indices are not available for direct investment, and any investor attempting to mimic index performance would incur fees and expenses that could reduce returns. Securities investing involves risks, including the potential loss of principal, and there is no assurance that any investment plan or strategy will be successful.